So, dude, tell me what's going on in the AI world. There's been some updates the last couple of days. What's going on?
There's actually a lot to talk about. It's a very interesting point in time that we're actually talking and having this conversation in because there was, as you might know, there's OpenAI, which released ChatGPT and all the other AI innovations that people talk about. And they had probably the most significant event for where all of this is heading this year. Okay, so two things that I would like to bring to your attention that happened there, and maybe we can discuss them and you can kind of give me your perspective on what they're gonna do. Because ChatGPT you've experienced, right? Just use the web interface, you ask it anything. So what changed there now is for all the use cases that you might be doing, so for your case, maybe writing ad copy, right? You're gonna have your very own specific custom trained assistant, they call them GPTs, that does just the one thing, right? So right now you had like the open kind of field of ChatGPT that could do anything, but now in the next evolution, it's gonna do one specific thing, and it's gonna do that specific thing super well, because you're gonna be able to add your data, add your documents. You're gonna be able to upload the analytics from maybe the previous ad campaigns that you ran, whatever. You're gonna be able to give it that, and then you're gonna give it a personality, and you're gonna have your personalized version of GPT right on the website, easily available, no coding, no nothing. And then you can create like tens of these. Plus, you're also gonna be able to sell them. So you can put them on the store that they're releasing later this month, and people are gonna be able to access those. So that's like a part of the innovation. And there's like 15 other things, but that's the one I would like to share.
Nice. And is that setting up now like sort of like the App Store is developed in a way that people are going to be able to build out these custom characters and you said sell them actually as templates, or
Yes.
how does that work? Like, so I'm going to go buy this character blueprint and upload it straight to my ChatGPT account. That's sort of how it's going to work.
Yeah, so essentially you're going to be able to create them for yourselves, and then you're going to be able to offer them on their app store. There's like a verification process, just like on the app store. Yeah. And you're going to enter into a revenue share agreement with OpenAI themselves. So yeah, essentially you can create them for yourselves, and if you feel like the world could use them, you can put them out there and other people could use them too.
Got you. And what are some early use cases you're already seeing?
Yeah, so there's some really funny ones. People are obviously trying various things, but the cool thing is you can integrate like a lot of apps into it. So one that popped up like right away was people linking it to various apps that people use daily, like Spotify or something. Yeah. So all of a sudden you're gonna get to really easily link ChatGPT with your Spotify account. And when you want to create a playlist, you just get to do that through that. So that's a basic one. But then maybe you can also link it to your CRM or to your email marketing software and just interact with it from within. But I think for me personally, like the use case that I'm most excited about building, and it's not out yet, right? It's coming later this month, the custom ones. But one of the first things I personally will be trying is building some sort of YouTube assistant. One that is trained upon my previous data, is trained upon other channels that I enjoy, has all the transcripts of videos that I was particularly proud of myself, and also has access to the internet, also has access to like a Python sandbox, so it can create mind maps, it can analyze all the data, it can analyze all the views. It has access to all the analytics that are critical and that I review regularly. And then that YouTube assistant is just going to be there. It's always going to be one click away. And that whenever I have a question or an idea for a new video, it's going to be my first stop, right? I'm going to be like, hey, I thought about creating this video. Any suggestions? And then I'll set it up to, anytime I ask it for suggestions, just, give me suggestions for titles, thumbnails, content, chapters. What are maybe some spin-offs of this? Could I turn this into a show, right? All of these things, I'm just going to have preset in there. And then that's going to be my first stop, right? When I have a new idea. So I think everybody's going to be able to create something like that for themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking about there's so many use cases, but you've obviously done really well with your YouTube channel. Yeah. Organically. I'm not sure how much you've used AI and ChatGPT in that process. As you're building out this assistant, what do you see as like the biggest impact it's going to have for you? Obviously, it's going to be able to look at your data from views and, as you said, help you with ideas. What do you see as sort of the the one or two things that are really going to move the needle for you? And
that's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. So that's the thing, in the word assistant, it's implicit that it's not a replacement, right? It's kind of like a support. But I guess it depends on the tasks, because there are certain tasks that I have, certain jobs that I have, that an assistant can fully take over, right? So when it comes to, here's one idea, can you give me 5 similar ones? That's kind of a task that I have myself as a YouTube content creator. I come in with one idea, and then I have to kind of go through and find similar ones, or find different flavors of that idea, and explore if it might not be worth it to actually redirect. And instead of doing idea number 1, maybe number 3 would be the one that my energy would be more wisely spent on. But those are like, thinking and planning and brainstorming type of tasks. These assistants can like kind of fully or mostly take over today, right? But then there's a different category of tasks, the ones that actually require doing something, right? So if you're going out and if you're writing, you're already doing something. That's kind of like the gray zone in between. But if you're going out and you're like, constructing a building and building a house and laying the bricks, let's say, then, that's not really a task for a AI assistant, because you need to like move physical goods. So that's kind of the spectrum, right? It goes all the way from just like thinking and brainstorming all the way to like laying bricks, let's say. So now the question is like, where on that spectrum is the task that we're talking about, and how far can we get? Because writing, arguably it's close to thinking, but it's like more action, right? It's closer to bricklaying than just like brainstorming 10 ideas. And then with some of the things that I outlined, like it being able to plug into Spotify, it being able to plug into many other apps, and then interacting with those apps, it being able to send emails, right? These things are closer on that actionable spectrum, and further away from just like thinking and brainstorming, and closer to actually getting things done in the real world. So just to return to the original question, I think for myself, the main thing that I'm looking forward to doing is actually creating drafts of scripts, but this is just like me personally with the YouTube. But I would love, it can do it already, it can write them, but I would really love for it to give me more of a personalized touch. There's this thing called fine tuning with AI models, where you can feed it certain like input output pairs, like hundreds of them. Like, when I ask it to write a script, just give me this type of output, and then you give it 100 examples, let's say, and then the whole model behaves differently after that. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. It's not available yet for the biggest model OpenAI has, GPT-4, right? I'm really looking forward to doing that, training it on my actual videos, and then adding my YouTube analytics, then adding YouTube data, then adding all the recent, all the data that is applicable to it already, and then going in and being like, hey, please prepare, scripts for these 3 videos for me. But still, in the phase we're in, the last mile is always human. That's the way it's supposed to be, right? Just like when you hire an assistant, you wouldn't give her the final decision, right, on everything you do, right? She would just assist you. She would create the drafts. She would do maybe 80% of the work, but kind of the last mile, where we stand right now, should be human if you want quality output.
My sort of understanding of where this is heading, and a lot of the applications for it is, it's going to be able to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, but that ultimate sort of creative end touch from a human is still not at the point where that's going to be replaced. And I don't know where that's going to go. I don't want to speculate too much on that, but at this point, as far as I can see, and that's been my own experience in the advertising agency, is our applications have always, been to a certain point. Definitely helps ideation, all of this sort of heavy lifting. But the last little piece, you definitely still need the creative direction. Like creative directors in advertising, for example, are not just about to be replaced. And I guess your creative direction for your YouTube channel, ultimately you're going to get more ideas and stuff, but at the end of the day, you're the final piece, right? So I just want to ask you one more quick question on that. Like, what other data, aside from your videos and stuff, if you wanted to train it to get to know Igor better and to know, all your past videos, what else could you feed it? What other data could you feed it from your personal, I don't know, can you go into like past emails? Like,
it's a good question. So basically, one answer to that is, everything that you ever produced. And that might not be the right answer, because not everything that you ever produced or said might be relevant, right? Some private conversations are entirely irrelevant to your work life, right? So that might not be the right answer. And then just saying just the stuff that I published on YouTube is probably not the right answer either, right? It's better than giving it nothing, but there might be way more relevant, maybe the thinking process behind the videos would have been super relevant for it. So like everything that is relevant to it, right? Just like the way to think about it is if you talk to an assistant, that's why it's such a great framework. That word really captures it. If you talk to a brand new assistant, what would you tell her for her to do a good job, right? You wouldn't be telling her about your childhood experiences, like some random conversation you had when you were 12, right? Probably not relevant to the task that you want from her. But you might be telling her your thought process behind some of the videos that you've been creating, right? So we actually thought about this question a lot, and we actually built like this framework that we named it like it's a blueprint. And it's a framework for what data to provide it, right? It's like, what are your goals? What is your job? What is your background? What are your language preferences? What type of output would you like to see? Do you want citations or not? It just depends on what you're trying to achieve. But if you like fill out these various fields and answer these like we have like 24 building blocks like that you can like mix and match. If you give it answers to that, and you tell it in what voice you want it to respond. You tell it in what tone you want it to respond. All these like details. It's pretty granular, like, right? It's not just I want it to be friendly. No, it's like no, I want the voice to be friendly yet professional. And then you give it maybe examples too of that, right? Here's like examples of how I speak. Then the quality just like goes to a different level, and most people just reach kind of the first level and they prompt something very quickly and they kind of make their conclusion. They're like, I tried it, it's not that good yet, I'll come back to it in the future. But the fact is, like, if you read, for most people like, if they really knew what to ask it and how to ask it and what info to provide, then the conclusion would be different, because it's better than people realize now. But again, it's limited, right? It's an assistant.
I suppose that's what you teach all your students, right? How to find that balance of like right data, right questions, and right direction. Yeah. And I just had a thought, like, as you were saying that, of like, you thinking about your assistant to write your YouTube scripts. I guess I assume you want to try and find a balance of having an authentic voice come through. So giving it data from, your past videos and stuff that you have said, and this is sort of my language that I typically use, while also, I guess, aspiring, you always want to get better, right? And I guess that's where you can start to say, I would like to sound more in this tone, or so I guess you could find a balance of, hey, make me sound, or make this script sound authentic, but also I want to add in this little element. I want to be a little bit more, I don't know, edgy or something in that direction. So have you tried sort of playing around with that a little bit?
I think it's a great point, because that's really kind of like the more intermediate version of using it. Yeah. Because when you start, you kind of just give it like one task and you're like, okay, thank you. But then the better version of using it is having a conversation with it. So, you get a first answer and you do exactly what you suggested. You kind of go in and you give it your feedback, just like you would with an assistant, right? She comes back with the first draft, you're like, thank you, but, and then you like point out the things that you would like revised. You can do the same thing there. But with all that being said, I should point out that I don't really script my videos. Some people do. I'm more of a bullet point type. I like freely speaking. So I really love to use it for like outlines at best, right? So I never use it to script word for word. Just doesn't work for me personally. I kind of like speak freely. I like speaking freely. But yeah, you can certainly do that, even for the outlines. Like one of the most basic examples that I showed many times on the YouTube is just when you're trying to write a book with it, right? Which is like a super long format. You don't go in and say, write me a book about XYZ. You go in and start with, write me an outline for a book about XYZ. And then it does it. It's like, okay, here's the 10 chapters, here's the sub-chapters. And then you're like, all right. In chapter 3, could you switch out these two sub-chapters? Could we switch chapter 5 with 7 and chapter 6? Could we change it entirely? And adjust it. Cool. Maybe do another round of that, right? And all of a sudden you have an outline that you actually like. Yeah. And then you can go in like, okay, write me a draft for chapter 1.1. Write me a draft for chapter 1.2. Yeah. Here's another cool thing that we didn't talk about that just changed. Are you familiar with like the context window that comes with these things? So like how much info it can intake at one point in time?
Yes.
So it was very, very limited up until now, right? So with GPT-4, we had, like up to maybe 8,000 tokens available. which is roughly like 6,000 characters. They just upped that thing to 228K.
Okay, significant jump.
You're able to like feed it a 300-page book. So you can take research papers, throw them in there. You can take research papers, not one, right? You could take like all the analytics. Like it was just very limiting up until now, right? You might have like a boatload of analytics and it can't even take it in because it's just too much. Yeah. Well, now the context window just, what is that, like 15x?
For someone that is, anyone listening out there that does feel a little bit overwhelmed or a little bit like behind, because I also feel like that with everything you share and you tell me, I'm like, oh my God, I need to be catching up on this. Like there's stuff I'm missing out on, I know. What advice would you give to someone in that situation that's feeling like a little bit behind, a little bit overwhelmed with the options? What can they start doing to like start to stay up to date more?
So there's several options. I think it depends on what learning type you are, right? So if you know yourself already a little, you will know, for me, I love learning through a long form audio with video to it. So like that works just best for me. Also, I'm a visual learner, but like I'm good with like long form content. So I would be looking into probably YouTube for that. That's why I do YouTube, right? Because it's like the most natural to me. I'm just creating what I wish I had. So if you're a visual learner, I think YouTube is a great place, and where to start at the point that is most relevant to you, so whatever industry you're working in. So for example, with you, I wouldn't be looking for tutorials on how to write children's books, right? To start off, like look for the ones that are going to be acutely like relevant to you, like you can use right away, and just use the search function and be like, okay, ChatGPT for, I don't know, ad copywriting. Yeah. Cool, for Google Analytics, data analysis, and then check that out, see what those people are doing, get a first feeling for it. So that'd be one answer to it. The other one is Twitter is obviously great, depending on if you use it a lot, but that's really where kind of like a lot of the news lives, and that's where all of creators like me also get their info. It's not from some news outlet that kind of like adds their 2 cents and is a few hours late. No, it's like straight from the Twitter accounts and from people like playing with it all day. So that'd be another one. But then beyond that, you also have if you're not the visual learning type, then I would say newsletters. Incredible. There's some really good ones. So we have a newsletter of our own, but we only do it like once a week. There we essentially do like the ultimate digest. Like we do like one app that is useful that you can use now, one news story that really mattered this week and why it mattered, and then we're like one prompt that you can use today. That's it. And then sometimes we add like a video of the week at the end. That's it. So that's like, but that might be too little for certain people. If you want to get more, I would recommend the Rundown newsletter by Rowan, and then there's Ben Bites by Ben Tussle. The last one is really, that's like a waterfall of info, so you get like just daily, like that might be too much for certain people, but the Rundown is like the good daily summary. So if you get one newsletter like that and try it for a week, you get our newsletter, which kind of gives you the weekly summary, and you check out 2 free videos, you're already on your way, right? And another thing is, and it might be biased because it's ours, but like when you sign up to our newsletter, we have this freebie that gets you started. So it gives you 250 use cases, and it gives you all the presets that you can just copy paste. And we have videos on YouTube that kind of guide you through it. So if you do that, you're already ahead of most people that kind of just go in and intuitively they type in what they're thinking, but like what do they know about how the system functions? You kind of need to do a lot of trial and error to find the use cases or the wording or the angle, or like they're not including a target audience. Well, there should really be one, otherwise it's gonna start making up the target audience, right? And then you're like, this is what the hell is this giving? Why is it like making up facts here? Well, because you didn't provide it to them, right? So these are all the things that like some of the beginner guides like that help out with, right? You avoid hallucination, you find the use cases that are relevant to you, and then you expand from there, right? All it takes, you need to find one thing that is really useful to you, and you're going to keep returning to it, and you're going to be like, what else could I do?
I think that's the exact point. Find something in your daily life, in your work life, that is that you want to play around with, that is relevant to you, interesting to you, and I think everyone's going to see the impact, and can definitely also recommend the newsletter. Super consumable for someone like me that doesn't consume a lot of media. I found your newsletter super sweet. Once a week, good information there. So
super compact.
Yeah, we'll put the link to that in the show notes for sure.
And it's free.
And it's free. exactly. Take me back to before you started AI, before you dived into this world. What were you doing, and what led you up to the point of getting involved in AI?
Right. It's a good question. The answer is a lot. I really like stumbled into it on my explorations of technology, and I've always been a very tech savvy and tech oriented type. I mean, I always tried and experimented a lot, and also I got a little lucky on the timing as I discovered it for my other interest. I discovered ChatGPT like 24 hours after the release, and I was already, by the way, this is YouTube channel number 5 for me, right? So, but the first one I had when I was 17, which is 12 years ago now, was doing YouTube videos on Magic the Gathering on the Xbox. I was at the top of the leaderboard, worldwide leaderboard there, so I was just like, I'm gonna get a capture card and then create YouTube videos. I wasn't on, it was just my voice and the recorded stuff, but that's where the YouTube thing kind of started. And then throughout my 20s, I had a video production company before this. So I was, creating first event videos, but then trainings. Like my ultimate thing was like corporate trainings, where we created like 30, 40 training videos on a specific topic. So that's where the video component comes from. It was always just like kind of my hobby, and then over time I made it my career. And then YouTube was always just like my passion, and tech was always my passion. I'm the type of guy that, has a bit of time on his hand. Like a few years ago, I had a bit of time in summer, and I just like picked up coding inside of Python, and I just like learned that and built on that. And then the pandemic came around. I had some time on my hand, and I bought like power tools, and I learned like carpentry, and I built a terrace for myself. It was like a 7-month project. I totally like underestimated that because I did all the gardening and like I had like 30 plants and everything, but not working every day. Just like it just took forever because I dragged it out. But I was just always like this exploratory type, this like, here's a new thing, and then I like obsess over it, and I'm also like very good and quick at learning things. So when I had the video set up, I was trying like 2 other YouTube channels at the time, and I knew about AI, but by no means was I a power user before ChatGPT came out. Dabbled and used actually DALL-E 2 before that, and GPT-3. I knew of GPT-3. I didn't actually use it actively, but when this thing came out, when the chat interface came out, also for me, it kind of like, it was this light bulb moment of like, this is really different from anything I've ever experienced. Like,
I mean, you were the like really early adopter, right? Like, what environment were you in? Who were you? Were you in like different forums, channels? Yeah. How did you find out about the release? Yeah.
It's a good question. So I've always been in like various communities and spread out. And at the time, one of my various interests was, so I was running like 2 channels at that time, like populating them. One was video production, and the other one was NFTs actually, but not NFTs kind of like the investment side that most people are familiar with. I was mainly focusing on technical tutorials on how to do blockchain stuff. So my most popular video on that channel was how to mint NFTs from smart contracts, which like literally showed you how to use the blockchain explorer and how to fill out all the fields so you can manually do things. I had many like kind of like technical tutorials like this. And I was in some communities of more less investment oriented, but more like tech interested people, like developers, and I was in communities like that. And in one of those communities, I just had a conversation where she just brought up, like, I just started playing with this new thing called ChatGPT, and I was like, what? And this was less than 24 hours after release. So I just went in, and that's where my exploration started. It was really being in a technology oriented crypto group. But again, it was really not focused about the trading aspects where like most of them were. And they're kind of the conversation naturally led to, hey, here's this cool tech related thing that I discovered. Yeah. I just tried it out, and rest we talked about.
That early like YouTube growth, as you saw, like as people were like picking up on these videos way more than what you maybe had previously experienced. Yeah. Was that like really was that like a big motivation then to go, I need to go back into this platform and learn everything about it and learn more and more to ultimately go and share it? Like, was that a big driving force for you?
Sure, but I think I also naturally kind of have that. Like whenever I dive into a new topic, I kind of make that my sole focus to the detriment of other parts of my life and my health. But like legitimately, I kind of just do that naturally. And then obviously, like if you put out free videos and you know each one of them gets more views than the last 20 videos you did combined, right? Because I was like, also interesting fact with the YouTube that I should share, it was like anything but an overnight success, because legitimately, like as I mentioned, like first channel 12 years ago, but also this channel that I was uploading on, the AI Advantage right now is actually the channel that I had all the NFT tutorials on. And it was monetized. It got monetized like 2 weeks before I started uploading AI related videos on there. So you know, there was over a year where I was uploading twice a week, and I basically got the channel monetized for live streaming every Monday for like 4 months straight to like get the watch time. And I barely like got it like mid-November, and then so the channel had some traction already. Like if you look at the stats, like compared to the numbers now, you can barely see it, but it was like a rising, you know, I was adding like, you know, 80 subscribers every month for like 14 months already. And then, you know, and then I had an initial audience to kind of show the content that I created to. So I think that was like really helpful, you know. So it was not like a blank channel where I just like uploaded a tutorial and it like exploded. It was like over a year of like regular uploading and a monetized channel, plus, you know, a decade of kind of video creation experience before that. So that's what really like led into it. But to answer your question, like, yeah, obviously once, you know, you upload a video and then in like 3 days it gets more views than all the hard work you put into the last 20 videos. And that one thing gets like more attention and comments and people are engaging. It's like very motivating to create another one and to keep pushing, to kind of get the feedback and get the signal that, you know, people are actually enjoying what you're doing and they're asking for more. That really helps. But I'll also say this, usually people when they kind of think about this and like, ooh, great, you had like a viral YouTube video, and usually that conversation is more like, oh, that had to feel amazing. But like the truth of it is it was extremely stressful, and people that haven't been through it, usually only people that have been through a similar experience can relate to that, because it's like, because that builds expectations, right? And it's not just like these like, they're not abstract, they're like very concrete, they're in the comments, it's people asking for things. It's you know, you say a word wrong and all of a sudden you have the most like comment is somebody hating on the fact that you said one word wrong in like a 45-minute recording, right? It's just an example, but like it's a lot of like external opinions are all of a sudden in your life, right? You go from maybe your surrounding being, I don't know, 5 to 10 to 15 people, you go to like all of a sudden 20,000 people having their opinion right there, and no consequences to them expressing it, right? So that can be very stressful, plus the expectations and the numbers and everything, and you see it like spike, and then you see dip, and then like it stays dipped for a few days, and you're like, what the heck? And then it spikes again, and you're like, you're on this roller coaster ride, which is like emotionally stressful while you're just trying to learn and share what you learn, right? It changes it completely. So that changes. It's not just, yay, this feels great. It's like, it's a lot of emotions together.
Sure, because everyone on the outside, right, is seeing the viral YouTube video and seeing your subscribers and everything go up and like, oh wow, how cool is that? Not actually realizing, the feedback.
Think about what would happen if like the opinions in your life like 100x tomorrow, right? Because everybody has an opinion, right? And especially on the internet, people are like, feel so entitled to like share their opinion, which is fair in most cases, but like sometimes it's just like, the hell, man, you spent like 5 seconds thinking about this concept and now you're like ready to criticize something. It is what it is. It comes with the territory. I wouldn't have it any other way. But it was a wild year.
I mean, was YouTube always something that you like, did you always see yourself as a creator? Did you think you were going to get into education? Like, what was the motivation behind, you know, starting your previous YouTube channels? Like, was that always something that you really wanted to do?
I just loved creating videos. I thought it was like the idea of being able to literally capture reality. It's like the closest thing that we have to time travel, right? You get to like use these devices, these like cameras, and like put a bunch of glass in front of them, and then you get to capture reality and replay it at any time. that always felt so cool to me. Like I started out by creating snowboard videos when I was like 11 or something. I had like a waterproof like handy cam or something. I was out in the snow. I was so proud of it. It was like,
this is before GoPros.
Yeah, this was before GoPros. I was just like, what, a water pro camera. I could take it out into the snow. And we were like filming us like jumping in the backcountry and failing, barely like getting over the ledge and everything. But that's where it started. I just kind of like loved capturing those moments. And when I got into uni, it just naturally transitioned into kind of like filming some of the trips we went on and filming some of the friends and activities we were doing. And then when I got to a point in my life where, you know, I was basically forced to make a life for myself, it was just, I just thought to myself, like, what is the thing that I enjoyed the most that could also like make money? Yeah. And it was just like, oh, wait a minute, this whole like camera video thing, I've been doing it, I love it. It seems that people are doing this. So I just went out, like I cold DM'd like 110 people on Facebook, like different event organizers in Vienna, and one of them replied like F off, and one of them was like, okay, you can do one for free. And that's where it started. So I always just had this thing like for video, then I turned it into a career. And ultimately I love learning new stuff, and one of the best ways to learn is to teach. So that just came like super natural to me. I was either teaching people in my surrounding, or so I had the video component, and then I had this like component of like loving new and technology related things. So it's just like perfectly merged. I just had to learn over time how to like kind of talk in front of cameras and stuff, because I don't think that's natural to anybody. No. It's just but it's a practice thing, you know. Like if I look at some of, not even the channel 12 years ago, even the videos from like 2.5 years ago, it's just like
you see a big difference, huh?
Yeah, for sure. It's just a skill you have to build.
Did you, when you thought about running a YouTube channel and monetizing it, did you ever think that you were going to be selling education products like online courses and guides and stuff like that? Did you envision that, or was it more of like a byproduct of once you built your audience, you're like, we need to deliver a product to them?
That's a good question. I don't think I ever envisioned it concretely, but I was always very interested in the business side of everything. Like I always did my own accounting with the video production company. I kind of like, I was always very interested in the business side of everything. And then actually the first like AI related product that I released was very, very early. Like it was before Christmas last year. So it was, I think on like December 23rd, I remember at like 7 a.m, I finished up like just the PDF, the like 80-page PDF, and it was a prompting ebook. And like now there's a million prompting ebooks, but this was like in like mid-December, like ChatGPT, or like end of December, ChatGPT prompting ebooks. They weren't really a thing. And like so there were some people putting out prompts, but it all came in like December, and it just came naturally. It was like, okay, so I'm doing all these tutorials. Each tutorial has like a few prompts. And a few use cases, but what if I took all of them and added more and found, you know, what if I like really did the work and found everything that I found useful so far, and then maybe go even the extra mile and find even more and put it into an easily digestible format. And I was like, I gotta do that. That's like the maximum, that's the most amount of value that I can deliver to the world right now. And then it's just natural to kind of like, you know, export it as a PDF and put a price tag on it. And what I always did is I always gave a big chunk of it away for free. So I always did that. I was like, okay, cool. So I just spent like, you know, 10 days like collecting all my thoughts and everything and formatting and setting it up. Cool. Now let's cut it into, you know, let's take 1/3 of that and give that away to for the people for free. Or like now with the newest product, it's more like 3-4 months of development, and now cool. So like we developed like a whole new system, everything. Let's give that system away for free with a bunch of presets. And if people like want to go the extra mile and they want to save, like we did 3-4 months of work, so you don't have to do extra 2 days of work essentially, right? If you want to save those 2 days of work, you can, you know, buy a product to save that time. But like everything we came up with, we're giving out for free. We're like, here it is. Here's the Notion templates that we built. Here's the character, the characters for the custom instructions in ChatGPT that we built. Here's the 3-step process to like replacing your tasks in your job. Here's like, just take it all. That's kind of the YouTube mindset. Like, find interesting stuff, share it for free, and then have a premium version of it that just saves some extra time for the people that where their time is worth more than money. But if you want to like recreate that, you with enough work, you certainly can. So that model has been really, if you pair that with like a 14-day, no questions asked, money back guarantee, it's like, it feels super good to me because it's just like legit. Like, hey, we did this, we built it. Here's the whole thing. Here's even more if you want to buy it, and you have a money back guarantee, and it's like, and then it allows us to reinvest more. And I've been like reinvesting like a maniac. Like I don't have any savings. It's just everything's going back in. Yeah, because this is the thing, and I wanna like at least like contribute something actually valuable to the space, and the products allow us to do that, or to at least attempt that.
No, for sure, man. I think it's a really good lesson to anyone that's like listening out there that's considering getting into online education and considering, teaching something online, is that you started with content first. You started with find solutions. You were curious about a topic, and you just started to produce good quality video content around that. And as you said, you were also, the early videos you said were not what they are now. You started down that process, and you motivated yourself to keep finding solutions and information, gave it for free. And that's like a lot of the clients that we work with have a similar sort of story of like they've built their YouTube channel or their blog or their Instagram page, whatever it is, sort of sharing this content because they're passionate about it, they're interested about it, and then all of a sudden they get people knocking on the door saying, hey, I want to learn more of this, or hey, can you do this for us? And that obviously opens the door for some more premium products, right? So that's really cool, and I think a really, really good lesson.
Maybe let me just underline that last point you made, because I think that's so critical. Like, I think that the online content model for people that are, want to get into education, online education, the ultimate formula is really, it's not the formula that you find with traditional companies or corporations, right? Where it's like, I have a product, you give me money, then you get the product. No. Here it's more like, here's everything I know for free.
Yeah.
And then if you want to go the next step, and if you want to get into the advanced things, that's where we're going to charge something to lead you through that. But essentially it has been regurgitated a million times, but you really have to provide the value up front. Yeah. That's kind of the reason why people come in. You just help the world. You just tell them what you know. And then if they like it, you can come up with solutions that are for the next level, That's also what I did. Like, create the beginner content. I also have a lot of intermediate and advanced content on the channel just for free, right? But it's just different. Like, when you talk about something like a course, I think there's a lot of wrong ways to do a course. Yeah. And I think many people have done that. That's why they got such a bad name, I think, to certain people, that the courses have a bit of a bad rep. Yeah. Because so many people just like, hit the screen record and they just kind of like blabber and like it's not really pre-planned, and it doesn't really take you through a curriculum, and you don't really get any results in the end, right? But I think the right way to do it is like, okay, so you could spend like 50 hours or like on YouTube watching all this, or you could get the course where I spent like months kind of organizing all my thoughts into as concise of a curriculum as I could. With actionable steps along the way and resources that supplement it perfectly, not just like, here's an add-on. No. Here's the add-on that you will need at step 2.3, because we talk about this concept and you actually need to try it, right? Yeah. If you craft that and get, then all of a sudden you go from needing 50 hours to like needing 3 to 4 hours. Yeah. It's still a lot of time, right? Because it's like, especially like my content is like super concise, and sometimes people are like, ooh, talk slower, Igor, or like edit slower, and I'm like, I don't know, this is my style though. And
just slow down the video speed.
Yeah, exactly. Just set it to 0.5, you'll be fine. Exactly. But I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, and definitely for anybody looking to get into content, the right way is just start with free beginner content and give them everything you have. Everything. Don't hold back. Don't, just like everything. This is, if you're into gatekeeping, then this is just, don't even bother. Don't even bother. That's not how this works. Yeah. That's why all like the corporate social media channels, most of them, right? There's a few exceptions, but most of them, you don't see big corporations having like incredible YouTube channels regularly, right? First of all, because there's like no single point of focus, no person that kind of presents it, but also like they're not ready to give away everything they have for free, and that's how this works. If you're not ready to do that, it's probably, I don't know, find another way.
No, for sure. Like, you've got to have that foundation, right? And that's what we say to all the clients that we work with, where we start running advertising for them, is that you've got to have that foundation first. And that's what we look for, is like someone like you that has built that audience, has done the hard work, hard lifting of giving away that content, creating all that time. And honestly, one thing that's very interesting, an important distinction, one reason I really like online courses is that teachers like you have to spend a lot of energy condensing all of that knowledge and making it in a very, concise, biteable sort of format. That's, as you said, there's months and years of like research and knowledge that goes into compacting something into, what's arguably a very, very low price point for the impact that you can have. Now, one question I have for you is, like, as an educator in this space, which is rapidly evolving and changing, I mean, you see it every day. How have you found that staying up to date with, I know you've created these courses, or you've sort of told me sometimes the interface changes on ChatGPT and all of a sudden, the content you've created before is not as relevant as what it once was. How have you sort of stayed ahead with that? Like, have you had to make constant updates to your curriculum? How have you dealt with that?
That's tricky for sure, because exactly now, like the development event happened 2 days ago, and they announced like a complete overhaul of the interface. It just now combines all the models into one. So a lot of things work differently. I think multiple strategies. There's no real one answer to that, but one would be, sure, you can update like older content, but just, if the functionality is the same and the button kind of changed and the logo changed, then it's fine. It still does the same thing. But in other use cases, when there's like a completely new thing, then you should probably be adding a video to kind of the advanced module, right? So that's what I'm working on right now. Also, another thing is add kind of the community aspect to it, and you do, let's say, regular events, or you just have a common chat room. Then you can be really agile and you can really adapt, right? Whereas like the pre-recorded video, you have to redo the whole thing. But if you're doing like what we're doing with the course, we're doing bi-weekly events, so people can come and like every 2 weeks we kind of like digest all the new things that are relevant to extend the course curriculum with that. So I think that's one of the best options if you have like a community aspect, because otherwise, like, how are you going to adapt if the whole thing changes like multiple times a month? How are you going to kind of like talk about the news sustainably? Are you going to be reshooting the whole course like twice a month? No, you're just going to leave the parts of it the way the parts that work, and also it should probably be designed in a way that it's a little more sustainable, right? If we're talking like basics of crafting, like the simplest prompt, that's not going to change. That's what I'm saying. It's like these different building blocks of knowledge, they're constant across time. But then if you have like a community aspect to it, it allows you to keep it up to date. So that's really the best solution I found so far.
Okay. So incorporating that sort of ongoing updates, coaching calls, etc., to sort of combat that. That's good.
And be agile, be like ready, right? Because like this update dropped, and it's like we've spent the last 3-4 months developing like a whole new framework, whole new like system. And it turns out that we were close, but not spot on with what the new chapter holds for us. Right. So, right now we're talking, but the team is like running scripts and prompt engineering and like figuring all like, we are working hard right now, this moment, to update it to the new functionalities. Because they just weren't available 2 days ago. They weren't announced, and now they are. So we gotta react. So be ready to react. Like do whatever you have to. If you need full-time team members, then that's probably that's why I always wanted to go in the direction of like building a team, because I realized that with a space developing so far, if it's just me, or if I just get like some help, then there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can do, right? And then we wouldn't be talking right now, because I'd be like writing a script or whatever, and I wouldn't get it done anyway. So be agile and like adjust your space. Other spaces certainly move slower. This is probably the fastest space in tech, moving space in tech. And then tech is probably the fastest moving industry.
I know you've been working on some new products recently, and you've had some updates to existing ones as well. Tell me a little bit about those and what you've been working on.
So essentially, we have the course, which is, I think, absolutely fantastic for somebody like getting into it, and it covers like all the basic to intermediate points that you want to cover. Plus, it comes with the community aspect. But I think the most exciting thing that really like this year, we had a lot of experiments, and a lot of them have never seen the light of day. The good and the great ones are all on the YouTube, or most of them are on the YouTube, but then some of them are just go beyond, and we just had to kind of like flesh it out, which is what we did with the latest one. And it's essentially I don't know. It's still kind of like blows my mind because I was surprised by how well it works for myself. But it's essentially it's a step system to first like you identify a worker, employee, a character, whatever you want to name it. We have a database and you just pick one that is closest to you. In the second step, you copy paste like 3 parts and you essentially find all the jobs that the worker could be doing with AI.
Okay.
And then in step 3, you just combine the first 2 parts and you let it do the work for you. So, and that's really cool because you can customize the character in the first step, right? So for example, for me, I can, there's a category, we have a category of 100 YouTubers. So I'll just pick the one that is the closest to me. I'll customize a few details about it. And then in the second step, when I'm in the discovery process of all the different jobs that the worker could be doing, well, it's going to give me exactly the jobs that I could be doing with AI. And then you just pair the tasks, the jobs in the second step with the super rich profile of the worker in the first step. And you just get like super high quality results. Yeah. It's a 3-step process. It's not something that you just like copy paste. It's like 3 things that you need to copy paste, right? But the results are like really cool. But obviously this is a little more advanced. If you're just getting into it, this might be too much. It's like, okay, so we're doing like a custom instructions, and then we have a prompt generator that works with the custom. It's like this is like intermediate stuff. Yeah, for sure. But I think it's really worth it because it's like a system that allows you to kind of discover all the work that AI can do for you today. Yeah. And yeah, I thought that was like kind of my ultimate goal. And we tried like multiple approaches of doing it. Many didn't work. Yeah. This one did. So we productized it and we're fleshing it out right now.
I mean, for all the listeners out there who are considering starting their own online education course, company, maybe a YouTube channel, educating, teaching online, what advice would you give them?
Well, so for people who are like already educating and they want to like move into the digital sphere, I think one of the best pieces of advice is just record yourself in the beginning. Whether it's video or it might just be audio, right? It's just like get a little mic, have it on here. And when you're teaching, when you're lecturing, when you're doing your one-on-one classes, just record yourself. And then what you can do is you can transcribe it and then you can work with those transcripts. You could even use AI to kind of analyze them, right? We're like, what could I have done better? And you can start building your curriculum from there, right? You can maybe listen back. You can really work with those recordings because if you're not in the moment and you have a recording, you can really reflect on what is the value that I'm communicating here. And then it's all about condensing that, right? Yeah. So on the internet, it's like attention spans are shorter. And it's definitely different than, watching something on your phone is just a different experience than sitting face to face with a human. Yeah. It's just different. You like turn off so many senses. All you have is like the vision and the auditory sense, but there's no smells, there's no touch, there's no surrounding, there's no like all the little factors that affect our everyday life, right? The fact that there was like a bus going by, it's kind of a shared experience. Like you're tuning all that out, so you need to get that much more concise in your messaging. So my recommendation would be just start with the content you're already creating. Record that, whether video or like just turn on the iPhone and record yourself while you lecture, while you're teaching somebody, tutoring somebody one-on-one. Just say, look, this is just for like internal use, just for me to reflect on it. Yeah. And then do it. Then reflect on it and think about like, okay, what of this could be valuable to others? Maybe the answer is the whole damn thing. Maybe the whole recording. That's your thing right there. Like here's a 1-hour like coaching session on XYZ, right? Yes. So I think that's the starting point. Like if you're already teaching, just record it and go from there and just think about making it more concise if you can. And if you're not teaching it, well, start and then record it.
Yeah. No, great advice. Honestly, just begin the process, right? Is like take that knowledge you already have and start down the process. And I'm sure once you do that, you create that first video, then it sort of starts to spiral from there and you get better at your creation. But yeah.
And one last thing to round it out is really this, like, everybody knows the first one is always going to suck, right? It's going to be bad. Yeah. And that's fine. That's part of the process. But look, if you as an educator are not ready to accept the fact that your first creation is going to be bad, how on earth do you want to make it your life's mission to help other people get over that hurdle of the first step, right? That's your whole thing. You're teaching people, you're helping them to go from one point to another. Yeah. But you yourself are not willing to go from, not being good on camera to at least giving it a shot. Yep. Like, heck, Like, how are you going to motivate them? You got to lead by example. And even if it's just little things that they're never going to find out, like I tried recording 15 YouTube videos and it didn't work. Yeah. And also, if you haven't done like at least 20, you haven't even tried. I'll say that too. If you did like 3, 4 and you like gave up, like you haven't tried. In my eyes, you haven't.
Yeah. Just stick with it. Stick with it. No, I love that advice, man. That's really good. So anyone that's on the fence out there, worried about it, just get started, do that first video and see where it takes.
Probably it's 100, to be honest.
To what, really start to get the momentum, you mean? Or
probably it's 100 till you reach a form that actually represents who you are. Right. Until then, there's going to be a lot of learning, right? Even if you figure out the speaking component and the teaching component, it's like there's so much visually you can do. There's so much lighting, audio stuff. There's so much packaging. There's so much, okay, how do I structure the outline? There's just so many variables that, you know, if you, like most people, first 100 videos are exploration process, right? And just know that. And that's fine. Like exploration process can be super valuable to people too, right? Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Think about your progression. You have, how many YouTube channels did you have before this one?
Yeah, this is number 5.
This is number 5. Yeah. So, you know, people can look at where you are now with your subscribers and, you know, your viral video, but really what's behind that, you know, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what you've put in. So, man, that was a really, really fun episode. Thanks so much for diving into such an interesting topic. If you want to check out Igor, head over to myaiadvantage.com and also channel as well. Same name, right?
AI Advantage.
AI Advantage. And check it out. Yeah, stay ahead of the curve. And thanks for coming on, man. It was great.
It's been a pleasure.